Copyright disclaimer: under the Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comments, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, education, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing.
What's wrong with you? Why are you looking like that?
I'm hungry.
Okay, why you ain't stop and get some when you was gone?
Cause why you ain't cook?
Because I'm busy.
Busy. I mean, you been in the house all day.
Okay, and I gotta take care of kids. I gotta wash clothes. I gotta clean. I gotta go to football practice. I gotta pick up for football practice. Then after that, I gotta go to football training. I gotta keep going. I didn't have time to cook.
But when you had a full-time job before I was working, I was doing all that. I ain't complaining. I still
Okay,
cook.
well, I'm not you. I'm not you. I can't cook every day. Like, you should be able to respect that I did everything else but cook. Like,
what black
you
woman?
could have brought some food. Don't use the race card.
No, I'm about to use it because it's deep. This is a deep situation.
It's not that deep for you to
think about what you're saying. What black woman don't at least make cornbread once or twice a week for their man? Dinner at least I'm gonna say 3 times, and they ain't even push. I could really say 4, but I'm gonna say 3 times a week.
At the end of the day,
you ain't even make me dinner yesterday.
Okay, I was busy yesterday.
But today's Sunday. I put an overtime shift and went in to work.
Okay, that's fine. I was busy today too.
So you ain't even cook Sunday dinner for the kids?
No, the kids ate. You just not gonna eat. That's why I say you should have got something on your way home because you passed all those food places, and you could have just got you something.
I pass food places every day, Abigail.
Listen, it's not that serious. Like
no. We ain't even about to do that. We not about to pull that. Not that serious though.
Right now.
We not about to pull that.
Do you want me to go get you?
No,
something?
I want you to cook me something.
Okay, I don't have time to do that.
So what you about to do? You busy?
Yeah, I'm busy.
What you about to do?
I gotta help my kids with their project.
I can do that while you doing that.
No, you can cook, and then I can help them with their project. Like, I'm not with that cooking stuff. You're gonna have to find somebody else to do that.
Hey, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachakwadash. Double honors to the elder apostles, the elder bishops, the elders of Great Millstone, who rule very well, very beautifully. Double salutations unto the Akim, I heard pushing his gospel in truth and in sincerity to the best of their ability, given to them by Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. Peace, blessings, and salutations be unto the elect scattered abroad. May the election of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Lord willing, fall upon your houses. This is Brother Quanah Watts from the Arizona Great Millstone Camp. Come back at you, Lord will, with the edifying lesson through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Lord will. It is edifying, Lord will. It is straight to the point. And as you had seen in that video, right, it was basically, a so-called black couple. And, the man, was ultimately, come home from, from work and, basically, wanting food, right? He wanted his woman to ultimately, make him food. And, you saw her response, right? She wasn't going to make her, her man food or anything like that. And that's the kind of, mentality that you see within, a lot of Israelite women, especially, or a lot of women just in general, but especially the so-called black woman, man, right? Which is why, beginning with the elder apostles on down, bros tell, brothers, man, to stay away from the end of the so-called black woman, man, because they really ain't, in the state that they're in, right? They really ain't, shit, excuse my language, but the so-called black woman just ain't shit, and I'm not saying that there aren't any, sisters, that believe, the few sisters that believe that might be so-called black. I'm not saying, I'm not talking about, I'm not talking about you sisters, man, but I'm just talking about, the so-called black women, right, in the world, right, in general, right, that they ain't shit, man, and this is why you got to stay away from them, man. The elder apostle, or the elder Manata Zagba, ultimately did a lesson, going into, I'm going to say the other day, I want to say yesterday, right, he did a lesson going into, that child support hustle, right, is ultimately going to be a curse, in the days to come. And that's, again, most of that is who? The so-called black woman, man, But I want to start right here in Sirach 25 and verse 19. It says, all wickedness is but little to the wickedness of a woman. Right? It says, let the portion of a sinner fall upon her, right? And these women out here are wicked, right? Just in general, which is the reason why Apostle Paul ultimately stated, right, that it would, be better if we be like him, right? To ultimately just, you know, to remain single, you know, stay away from these damn women, man, you know, because again, all they're gonna do is just cause you more troubles, right? Especially the state that these women are in, they're gonna cause you more troubles, man. So stay away from them, man, right? Stay away from these damn women, you know, for the most part, man, right? Especially the so-called black woman, which the elder apostle Rakah, you know, he's consistently going into the so-called black woman, right, calling them Big Shirley and whatnot, right? And then there was a video I had seen, I want to say maybe a week or two ago, of 3 big, I'm talking about tortas, man, like fucking huge so-called black women in a car, man, and they were pounding down fucking Taco Bell burritos. We're talking about in tens and 15, 20 of them, you know, at a time, you know, they're just monsters, man, right? It says, verse 20, it says, as the climbing up a sandy way is to the feet of the aged, so is a wife full of words to a quiet man. And again, right, these women out here, man, they don't know how to be quiet, right? They don't know how to, you know, be, you know, scriptures say, right, that they're supposed to be, you know, in silence, you know, but a majority of these women out here, they don't know how to be quiet. They don't know how to shut up, man, you know? All they do is, you know, run their mouth and shit like that, man, you know, and really, again, there's really no benefit, you know, to having these women nowadays, man, right? It's best that you just remain, you know, single, you know, especially if a woman don't want to, you know, especially if a woman don't want to sit here and, you know, cook you food after you done, you know, worked a long ass day, you know, which is ultimately what a woman's supposed to do, right? A woman is supposed to serve, you know, her man, you know. Scripture says that a woman, you know, the woman is supposed to be subject unto her husbands, and that's in Ephesians, the 5th chapter, if I'm not mistaken, right? And then, you know, and this is just a quick lesson, man. I'm, you know, on my lunch break, you know, yeah, a woman is supposed to be subject unto her husbands, right? Which, when you look up that word subject, it ultimately goes into, you know, under the control of. Matter of fact, let's go into that, right? Let's grab that, right? And we'll come back because I want to read that verse 21, right? Right? This is that's a fire one right here. I quoted it earlier, right? 1 Timothy 2:11, right? It says, let the woman learn in silence, right, with all subjection. That's right. But it says right here in Ephesians 5:24, it says, therefore, as the church is subject unto Mashiach, let the wives be to their own husbands in everything. So you women are supposed to, you know, ultimately, you know, serve your husbands, man. And that means, you know, ultimately making him food, you know, when he needs it, you know, washing clothes, if you know, doing the dishes, cleaning the house. Well, you women are supposed to be in the house anyways, man. You know, you women are supposed to be in the house anyways. And as you've seen in that video, that dude was saying, hey, when you were making a full-time, you know, when you were working a full-time job, you know, I was at home making food, this and the third. But see, she couldn't even, you know, reciprocate that same energy, you know, really do her job, right? Because that's what she's supposed to do, right? Be at home, take care of the kids, you know, and take care of the husband, you know, with his needs, you know, and so on and so forth, man. That's what a woman is supposed to be. But these women nowadays, right, they're the complete opposite, you know, of a Proverbs 31 woman, man. Complete fucking opposite, you know. They're just really they're pain in the ass for the most part, man. Which is why you got to stay away from these women, man. Stay away from them, you know. That's why when it says right here, verse 21, Sirach 25:21, stumble not at the beauty of women, right, and desire her not for pleasure, right, man. So, you know, you got a lot of beautiful ass women out here, you know, but hey, these women are all fucked up in the head, man. You know, these women are all jacked up, man. So hey, just ignore the shit out these women, man. Avoid them, you know, straight up avoid these fucking women, man. They ain't gonna do nothing but cause you more problems, man, you know. But I'll ultimately, you know, go to this, since I quoted it, Proverbs 31 and what is that, and verse 10, Proverbs 31 and verse 10, it says, who can find a virtuous woman, right? And when we go into that word virtuous, where's the virtuous, right? It says characterized by vigor or strength, having qualities befitting a knight, or valiant, hardy, courageous, right? It says righteous, potent, of good quality, right? Good quality, right? And a lot of these women ain't worth a shit, man, you know. It says moral strength, high character, goodness, right? A lot of these women, again, they lack, you know, good character, right? They lack, you know, these women, man, they don't have any value. And that's because ultimately they haven't been, raised to follow the law, statutes, commandments, right? Which is what ultimately, you know, gives us all value, you know. Is Yahweh B'Shem Yahshua, following this word, you know, keeping the commandments is what gives us value, right? But again, you know, we've been destroyed because we didn't want to listen, because we're being disobedient, because, you know, we want to continue to follow in the ways of the heathen, right? And we see the where it got us, you know. And now look at the state of our women, man, right? Fucked up, man, you know. But I'll go back. It says, who can find a virtuous woman, for her price is far above rubies, man, you know. Meaning a woman that, you know, a Proverbs 31 woman, man, is, you know, is priceless ultimately, man, right? That's a good woman. But see, you're not going to find that here, you know. But I'll drop down verse 15, right? And this is exactly what this woman was supposed to do, right? It says, she riseth also while it is yet nigh, and giveth meat to her household and a portion to her maidens, right? So she's supposed to ultimately wake up, get the food ready, get the house ready, you know, and do what it do, right? Feed the house, man. But see, again, these women, they don't do that shit, man, you know, which is why these women are ultimately going to, you know, be destroyed, you know. It says, she considereth a field and buyeth it, with the fruit of her hands she planteth the vineyard, right? These women are supposed to be into gardening, you know, foods, crops, you know, so on and so forth, right? It says she girdeth her loins with strength, and strengtheneth her arms. She perceiveth that her merchandise is good, her candle goeth not out by night. It says, she layeth her hands on the spindle, and her hands hold the distaff, right? So she's ultimately supposed to be into, you know, sewing, right? The yarning, you know, the crocheting, and so on and so forth, right? A woman's supposed to be into those type of things, man, right? But nowadays, you ain't got, you know, women doing those things, right? And if you do, it's very few and far between, you know. It says, it says, she stretcheth out her hands to the poor, yea, she reacheth forth her hands to the needy. It says, she is not afraid of the snow for her household, for all her household are clothed with scarlet. It says, she maketh herself coverings of tapestry, her clothing is silk and purple. It says, her husband is known in the gates when he sitteth among the elders of the land. She maketh fine linen, and selleth it, and delivereth girdles unto the merchant, right? So ultimately, you know, again, right, her dealing with, you know, fabrics, right? But again, right, these women ain't shit, man. As we read, all wickedness is but little to the wickedness of a woman. These women out here are just wicked and evil as hell, right? Which is ultimately why they're going to be punished, right? This is Isaiah, and we'll close out with this. Is Isaiah 32 and verse 9. It says, rise up, ye women that are at ease. And these women think that they good, right? They straight, you know. I can be who I want to be. I can do what I want to do. Hey, but soon that's not gonna be the case, right? Soon you're gonna feel that wrath. You're gonna feel that judgment, you know, for being wicked, for being evil, you know. It says, hear my voice, ye careless daughters, give ear unto my speech. So you better listen, right? You better take heed, right? It says, many days and years shall ye be troubled, ye careless women, for the vintage shall fail and the gathering shall not come. And we're in a time where all hell is about to break loose, right? Jacob's trouble's around the corner, you know. Food stamps are being taken away. WIC, you know, is being affected heavily, right, with this whole government shutdown. SNAP, a lot of these government employees are being fired, right, by the thousands, you know. Hey, so your food stamps, your government, you know, aid is going to be highly affected, right? So you women better, you know, get right, or you're going to be destroyed, and that's the bottom line, you know. But that's all I got. Lord wills, edifying, Lord will, straight to the point. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, B'Hashem, Yahweh Shai, B'Hashem, Rachak Wadash. Till next time, say shalom.